AATBirds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need. All about the birds, all birds, all the time.
And welcome to AATBirds Gameplan. Eagles Week 2 matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're here to preview it, break it down. But first, hello, Matt. We have a big – I want to get this out of the way because we can maybe touch on it at the very end. But there's a big matchup in the FCS rankings between – my Lehigh Mountain Hawks and your Duquesne, Dukes? Yeah. Lehigh's going to roll in this. That's what we're going to say. It's what's going to happen. We will recap that too as well next week, just because a little friendly.
It's not going to be fun.
A little friendly matchup there. But getting into the Eagles here, Matt, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. I know you wanted to do that first. Can I get a couple things out of the way when we look at – there is a lot. And this doesn't include all the practice squad maneuverings because that would just make the show way longer, and we just can't go that way.
Yeah, we won't get it. You know what? I'll get into practice squad signings, but like only where we net it out. I'm not going to get into all the practice squad because like Howie was bored this week. Let's get into injuries real quick. As of today, did not practice Dallas Goedert with a knee, Tanner McKee still with his thumb, and Will Shipley with they're calling an oblique, which is interesting. We've heard broken rib from multiple sources.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an oblique with a fracture in his rib. Who knows? But I'm interested to follow that and see if it is indeed a broken rib, if it's going to be a 6+ week injury. I would imagine they don't think it is if he's not on IR. But again, not likely that they're going to play this week in Kansas City. Dallas, McKee, or Shipley. Limited participation. Cameron Williams, not too worried about that. He's pretty much a redshirt player this year anyway. And then full participation, this is great news for Landon Dickerson with a back, and Jelix Hunt with a hip, who was a new addition yesterday, full participation today. So relatively healthy. The Goddard one is going to hurt, and we can talk a little bit about what we think the game plan is there. Where do you, like, obviously Calcaterra is next man up. He's a good receiver. But the game plan suffers significantly from a run game perspective without Goddard.
Yeah, especially with what you have at tight end with Grant Calcaterra and Kylan Granson. The blocking aspect of it isn't there. And that's interesting because isn't Harrison Bryant on the practice squad at Houston?
They just signed him to 53. As soon as the Goddard news broke, Harrison Bryant signed to the 53, Jack Stoll signed to the 53, and there was another tight end signed to the 53. It was very interesting timing. Very, I'm sure it was not a coincidence. I'm sure Howie was out there trying to snag at least one of those two guys.
But that's probably what happened. And again, that's why you saw the Cameron Latu apparently, switching his number and everything. He's probably going to be elevated, especially with the injury. But it sucks because there's been no,
he's not your blocking guy either. Like he's not like a Darnell Washington out there slamming dudes on the ground. Like I could see him becoming that new fullback because again, he switched from 49 on the practice squad during training camp. After training camp, he switched to 87, which is a good number for a tight end. And this week, he switched back to 36. So Latu, interestingly enough, was mentioned by Petula this week. as a potential replacement for Van Sumeren. When they brought him up, he mentioned Granson, like initially, who we saw fill in, and I think we talked about it on our last pod. Like he showed a little bit more oomph in that position, in that like wham blocking position, H back, whatever you want to call it. Where Sirianni's third tight end has typically played, in that like H back, wham blocking tight end. Granson filled in. He played pretty well there, actually. Like he had a couple really nice blocks. But it was interesting that they brought up Latu, and with Latu switching his number and Goddard being down, they probably need to bring another guy up. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a nod and he becomes the new Van Sumeren.
Also, don't be surprised, because the way they like to maneuver stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if the Shipley thing is going to be more than a couple week thing, that it's, IR, short-term IR is 4 weeks. They put him on IR and they signed Latu to the 53 to have him on, to be able to use the two elevations somewhere else in terms of what they want to do. Because right now I'm thinking the elevations are going to be Latu and Marcus Epps. Yeah, that's just what I'm thinking. My feeling is there, because Patrick Johnson's now on the 53, so he's your special teams guy there. But it's really interesting, because the tight end position has been an emphasis that we've kind of hit on the last couple of years with, like, what are we doing here in terms of development? Because there's no developmental guys on this in terms of high draft picks that you're looking at, because Goddard's injury prone, unfortunately. He's a hell of a player, but the injuries are starting to catch up, and it's every year, and missing a handful of games isn't ideal when you don't have any youth behind him. It's frustrating, because this is the end of his deal, and he's not really shown you too much. He's, glimpses here and there, but nothing to write home about, especially as a tight end 2. He's more, to me, a tight end 3. And of course, you see guys like the Harrison Bryants, the Jack Stolls, all these guys, thinking, they've been here, maybe trying to get them, and just not working out. And you're left with kind of what you have, which isn't the best right now.
It's funny, because how we've joked about them just collecting tight ends, but and they had 7 or 8 on the roster at one point in training camp, but like none of them were like substantial ads, right? Like everybody was like good at one thing, right? Like a lot of these guys are Goddard is so good because he's so well rounded. He can block, he can catch, he could run the ball. I mean, they did a couple end arounds with him in the playoffs, which was nuts. Like complete bonkers move by Kellen Moore. But like then you've got guys like Granson, who are typically a receiving threat, right? He's a smaller tight end. You have EJ Jenkins, who is a converted tight end, or a converted wide receiver. You have Harrison Bryant, who is, historically in the NFL, a blocking tight end. Like no one was well-rounded like Goddard. Or at least we didn't see them get to prove it. But they're going to have to have a serious overhaul of that position in the offseason. Like they don't have a choice.
Well, right now they're going to have 5 picks in the top 100. One of those is definitely going to be a tight end. To me, there's no doubt about that. It's kind of like how safety's been the number of years, and they finally go ahead and draft Andrew Makuba last year early, because they needed.
You got Sid in the 3rd. Like that's a more substantial, resource used at that position than they had in the past. Yeah,
exactly. But I don't know. It's just something to keep our eye on with the injury report, because when you look at the Chiefs, Xavier Worthy is limited in practice. Whether or not he plays this week after getting hurt, that's another thing to keep an eye on with the Kansas City offense. But to kind of round out the rest of the moves here, Gabe Hall was waived after the Eagles made the acquisition of Tank Bigsby. I know they said that the return game is a big factor, but I think the Will Shipley thing also plays a part in there, especially when you're giving up a 5th and a 6th round pick for a backup running back. Now he can be a dynamic kick returner for you, but he can also take some carries if need be. We'll see what comes with that.
Real quick on that, they did not spend a 5th and a 6th on a running back that they think is just a kick returner. That's not like, I get John Clark put it out there that they're intrigued by his ability to return kicks, and people just kind of ran with it. But like, we already saw from practice footage that he's going to do it. Coincidentally, he fumbled in the video that they showed, which is, by the way, a problem for Tank. And one of the reasons he got knocked down a peg in that depth chart. He has 6 fumbles in 2 years. So
listen, your draft crush Tootin has been rising up Jacksonville's depth chart. So,
man, I'm telling you, he was. Whew, I wish we had gotten him. But anyway, Tank's a really good player. And I think he's a really good running back too. I don't think he's a starter, but I think he's the perfect guy to come in here and just kind of be a pain in the ass once Saquon needs a rest and you have someone else that's just going to grind out 5-6 yards of rush. Like, he's your dude. I like the pickup, but like, anybody who thinks that we sign him just to be a kick returner, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that as well. And of course, Gabe Hall is now back on the practice squad after they did all their practice squad maneuvers. Jake Majors is on the practice squad now as well. So a couple, little things that come into play there. Of course, we're going to keep our eyes peeled on any other moves that potentially happening in terms of players going on IR, whether it's Shipley, what's going to happen there. So it's a lot to kind of.
They have until Saturday. Saturday to put him on IR for this week to count.
Yeah.
I would assume if they're going to put him on IR, they're going to do it this week. At least that's what I would do. Because you can get that week out of the way and it doesn't delay it for the next 4 games. So I would assume we will know by Saturday if this is going to be a 4+ week injury.
Yeah. I would agree with you on that. But like, when you look at this, like looking at this game here, and like what I've kind of said to you, you asked me what the key to the game is. Like for me, like looking at this game, it's the pressure on Patrick Mahomes, because we saw in the Super Bowl what pressure on Mahomes can do. And the Eagles are going to need to get some pressure. Now, the addition of Zadarius Smith, how much he plays, we're going to see that. Also, what's going to be really interesting to see is who's inactive. I'm really intrigued to see, because Kansas City, I don't believe, has that dynamic kick return, punt return type of guy that Dallas has in Kevontae Turpin. So the reason that they sat the other 2 guys, like, Obo and Ojulari, was because of the special teams aspect of Patrick Johnson. And that's why they brought him up and everything. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with that, because it's going to be kind of a telling sign of.
I don't think you're going to see Ojulari or Obo active.
I don't think so either.
So we only have 1 year of Vic, but we, through the years of him coaching, I don't know that he runs more than a 4-man rotation. Like, he wants his guys on the field.
I think he tries to do a 3 to 4-man rotation. It's kind of what he wants to do.
4 is probably your bag, right? Like, it's a quick swap. You go 1 for 1. Both edge rushers come out. The other 2 swap in. And like, I think that's the way you want to do it in general, just to keep legs fresh. But like, his interior guys, if he doesn't have to rotate him, he's not going to. Like, that's why Jalen Carter spent 87% of the snaps on the field last year, and he did the same thing with Christian Wilkins before he got the bag in Las Vegas, and then apparently lost his mind. But like, he likes his guys on the field. He likes that's why conditioning is so important to him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that rotation looks like, and who that, if they do stick with a 3-man and then bring in like Zadarius and nickel situations and move him into that interior pass rush like BG, right? Is he going to be that like NASCAR package? Because he did that a lot at all of his stops, really.
And listen, it's going to be really interesting to see. And having Jalen for the whole entire game, which, quickly to go into it, Jalen Carter's punishment was a 1-game suspension, which he retroactive because he didn't play a snap. So
confusing way to
big
put
time
it.
fine.
The tweet was dog shit.
It was so confusing. There's all these different tweets, all these different people saying all these different things. And it's like, can we just just say he's just fined.
His punishment was a fine, and he missed last game. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
I get what they were trying to say. They were trying to say it, but it just no one could say it well. It was something.
Yeah, but looking at going back into kind of like the matchups, and I want to stick to the defense because we've got a lot to talk about when we're looking at the defensive side of the ball here and looking at the cornerback position. Adoree Jackson, how many snaps he's going to get compared to Bennett? It's going to be interesting to see because if he struggles again and against these Chiefs receivers, especially if they don't have Worthy and they don't have Rashee Rice, and who are they going up against, and he starts struggling and looking kind of what he looked like last week, you're going to have a big time conversation of, okay, we need to see more Bennett because Jackson's just not doing it. So I'm very intrigued to see kind of what goes on with all of that, especially when we're looking at both of those guys saying who's going to take over that CB2.
Yeah. Well, and like to your point, if we can pressure Mahomes like we did in the Super Bowl, if we can get interior pressure, which I think this offensive line is susceptible to, they have youth on the edges, and Kingsley there at that left guard spot. Creed Humphrey is a beast. Simmons, I think, is going to be an all-pro at some point in his career, but he's still a rookie. I think there is some vulnerability, especially if Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis can repeat what he did last week. Ojomo should have some matchups one-on-one against Kingsley, potentially on Trey Smith too, who's good, but he's not Landon Dickerson, right? So it'll be interesting to see if we can get that interior pressure and make Mahomes make some bad decisions like he did in the Super Bowl. But if we do, if I'm the Chiefs and I'm watching last week's tape, I'm throwing quick hitches to Adoree Jackson's side and saying, come tackle me.
Yeah.
Because he's playing 10, 15 yards off the ball, throw a quick hitch, and make someone who's proven to be an absolute dog shit tackler come tackle me.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
They are going to attack. Andy Reid is going to attack Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And
we're going to find out in that first drive.
I'm really interested to see, because when you look at the offensive line of KC, like Juwan Taylor struggles. So if you can get, the Nolan Smiths and, Zadarius Smith over there, or whatever, how you even want to rotate it, even Josh Uche over there, because he had a hell of a game last week.
Yeah.
Make him cause penalties. Make him miss a block to get some pressure on Mahomes. And then, when you were talking the interior of that line, and look, like I know Josh Simmons has looked pretty good. What, Kingsley Suamataia? I don't even know.
Yeah, that's why I just said Kingsley.
Like Josh Simmons has been a first round pick for a reason, because he was a hell of a player at Ohio State before he got injured. But again, he's still a rookie, so maybe there could be something where he struggles a little bit, but it's going to be a tough task still, in my opinion.
I agree. They're not a bad offensive line. I've heard people say that their offensive line sucks. They're not bad at all. They're young, and the continuity isn't there. And that's one of the reasons our line is so good, because the continuity is there.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are underestimating, or they're either underestimating their offensive line or overestimating our ability to get through their offensive line. I'm not sure which. Might be a mix of the two. I would venture to guess that Vic is going to test Simmons and Juwan early with Uche and Zadarius Smith. I think they're just going to go at him, go at the rookie, bet on veteran savvy to there, because he's an athlete, but his hand usage isn't there yet, right? Just like most first-year offensive tackles. And those two are technicians when it comes to hand fighting. So I would assume that Vic is gonna favor that side with that rotation.
Now, what's pretty crazy too is when you look at the defensive side of the ball now, as we go over to the Eagles offense to the defensive side of the ball of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I know Spags like to do different things, blitzing guys here and, creating pressure. The one thing that was interesting too, when you look at their depth chart, is they don't have any backup safeties on their 53. They have Jaden Hicks as strong safety and then Brian Cook as the free safety. They have a few corners, but on their practice squad, they've got 3 safeties, one being Mike Edwards, which I'm sure he's probably going to be one of the guys elevated.
Previous starter.
But they don't have much in lines of that. And then looking at their defense, they've got solid players, but I just to me looking at their defense, there's no I know Chris Jones is Chris Jones.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a player. Karlaftis is a very good player. But when you really look at their defense, Nick Bolton is a solid player. They've got a lot of solid players and fundamental. Trent McDuffie's a really good corner. But it's I don't know. You look at their defense, and I think sometimes they play a whole lot better than what they have. They're not a star-studded defense, but they play sometimes better than what they are. And that's the thing. It's hard to really look at their defense and really focus and be like, okay, well, they're really not that good here. You just really don't know, because you could be like the Super Bowl and have the Eagles torch them in the Super Bowl, but you can also look at the way they play in other games during that season, and they played pretty sound defensively. So it's really hard to kind of see what you're going to get from them. I know the defense has kind of changed a little bit in terms of who's playing for them on the roster now than it was last year when we played them. There's still some similarities, but
it's really just their safeties. Everything else is pretty similar. You got Dana, you got Nadi, you got Chris Jones, you got Karlaftis. That's all the same as the Super Bowl. Tranquil, did he play, or he was hurt, wasn't he, for the Super Bowl?
I thought he played, but I know they have Leo Chanel as well.
They've got some really athletic linebackers. Bolton, Tranquil, and Chanel are so athletic and big. Bolton's not big, but Chanel is big. McDuffie, Jalen Watson was food in the Super Bowl. I'd imagine he's going to be pretty pissed off. And then, Brian Cook's a good player. And then they have Connor at that other safety, apparently. The roster is pretty similar, and you're going to have almost the exact same roster against the exact same roster on offense. Yeah. I think the biggest thing you have to worry about is Chris Jones, and not only Chris Jones, but is Dickerson healthy enough to handle Chris Jones?
Yeah.
And can Steen handle him for the first time?
Yeah, they're gonna.
Because last year you had Beefy Becton out there, smushing him up, and now you have Chris Jones against. And Steen's not a little guy, but this will be a big test for him in his first year as a starter.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because last year they were able to really control Barkley and not let him, get huge runs and really, and that's why the passing game was able to take shape. And of course, the turnovers on the Eagles side of the ball really helped that in terms of being able to score points and everything. But the Eagles were able to move the ball through the air because they weren't running the ball the best.
Now, here's the question. I have not watched the all 22 on the Cowboys game. From what I saw, they were rotating a ton of coverage to AJ. Every snap, you had a safety bracketing him to the boundary. How did they stop Saquon and AJ? You know what I mean?
It's a good question. I didn't really watch too much of the all 22 either. I saw certain little clips here and there, especially towards the end when they were basically stacking.
Yeah. I don't think our offensive line had a terrific game, and I think that has a lot to do with it. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm looking at that tape and I'm saying, how did they stop Saquon and AJ? Because if you can take away Saquon and AJ and there's no Goddard, like if you can rotate a safety to AJ and put 8 in the box, right?
Yeah.
Like, and go one-on-one with Devontae, because you don't really have to worry about Calcaterra or Granson. At least if you're Spags, you probably don't. It's interesting. I'm really interested to see how that Dallas game affects the way that people played us, because I think they had a really good game plan.
Yeah.
And we played below our level of talent, but I still think they had a really good game plan. I was really impressed with the way that they theoretically shut down our offense.
And two, when you look at Spags and how he's going to control, how he wants to try to control the game, and what's he going to do with Jalen? Is he going to blitz him? Is he going to spy him? What is he actually? And we don't know that. So that's another big key too when you look at it. And how is the Chiefs defense and Spags going to try to game plan to be able to try to hone in this offense and not give them the explosives, and two, try to make them meticulously move down the field, hopefully able to stop them and or make a mistake. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially when you're in KC. It's not easy to play in KC.
Yeah. And the same thing that happened in the Super Bowl happened last week against the Cowboys, where you're so focused on shutting down AJ and Smitty and Saquon that you forget about Hurts. You only have so many players that you can allocate, and Hurts made him pay. Hurts got out of the pocket, was on target with 100% of his throws. Right? He only had 4 incompletions, 1 was a drop, and 3 throwaways.
Yeah.
And so and he killed them with his legs. He had 60 plus yards, 2 touchdowns. I would not be surprised to see him do that again, similar to what he did in the Super Bowl. Because if people are just going to take away 3 of your 4 stars, Jalen's just going to kill you. So it will be interesting to see what Spags comes up.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting, which now brings us to one of our favorite segments.
Oh, boy.
It's time for the Locks of the Week. Who's your lock?
Alrighty.
Wow.
We both picked the Eagles to win. You had 24-12. I had 27-17. So we both picked the Eagles to win. So we both get those. We were both wrong, which we had mentioned too in our post-game recap, that we were both wrong on our locks. So this week, we'll start with the locks again. I'm going to let you go first, Matt. Now, you don't have to do this Eagles game. You could do any game. You could do college. You can do whatever you want. But the floor is yours, because I know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I'm going to let you go first.
I know your lock. I'm not touching that Duquesne game. My lock is Penn State's going to kick the snot out of Villanova. But I'm going to go with this game, and I'm going to go with a bold prediction. And I'm going to go back to the defense. Okay. I'm going to go with 3+ sacks, 1 turnover, and under 30 points for the Chiefs.
Wow. Pretty good one. So my lock, of course, as you mentioned, is going to be on the Lehigh Duquesne game. And I have Lehigh will win the game by 14 or more points.
14 or more?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. All right. I'm going to have to hit my boy Dunkley and tell him to rattle your quarterback. 14 or more?
Yeah.
That's a bold move, sir.
Listen, it can be pretty bold. I get that. I understand that, but it's kind of where I'm going.
14 or more points.
Especially if Lehigh gets one of their best defenders, Spatney, back.
Oops.
Maybe a long day.
Yeah, man.
So wanted to bring that. Now,
what happened to the Dukes win?
What happens if the Dukes win?
Yeah.
I guess you have a little bit of a pound in your chest because Lehigh's the 12th ranked team in FCS. So
you're gonna wear a Duquesne shirt?
I will not. I'll wipe my ass with it, but I won't wear it. Which now brings us
Speaking
to
of
the
wiping
game. Now brings us to this game, Chiefs Eagles, and our predictions.
Yep.
I will start, and then I'll let you go, since you went first on the You Like a Locks. So I think it's going to be somewhat close game in the fact that they are playing at Arrowhead. It's going to be, a tough matchup, which I do see that 29% of the tickets bought were from PA. So I wonder how many Eagles fans will be there. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see. Kansas City is a fan base that doesn't let teams travel real well. That's one thing. Kind of like Eagles fans. You don't have too many opposing teams. It's going to be interesting to see. I will be interested to see that. But looking at this game...
The Chargers don't let people travel.
Who?
The Chargers.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Or the Rams.
Or the Rams, yeah. Exactly. Fake fan bases.
No offense to any Rams or Chargers fans out there.
Listen, truth hurts. And speaking of hurts, I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a really good game. And I'm going to say it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be close. But I think it's going to look closer because at the end they're going to score, kind of like how the last game went. So I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game. It's going to be 28-20.
Interesting. I too have the Eagles winning this game, but I see it being a little bit closer. I think the Chiefs are going to be pretty pissed off about last week. I think they're going to be pretty pissed off about last year. I think Spags is going to have some fun little wrinkles there, but ultimately we have a winner, right? Jalen Hurts is a winner. I think Eagles pull this one out 27-24.
Now I'm all for that. I let the music go.
God, that music's awesome, man.
I know. It's great. It's always fun. Those kind of the NFL primetime, and like I could listen to the NFL primetime soundtrack. Like,
dude, back in the day, in Madden, I used to turn off the soundtrack and just do the NFL Films music.
Yeah, it's just,
like just that.
No, it's so good though. Like it's like I'm at work at my desk and I'm playing the NFL primetime, and I have someone walk in. They're like, "Are you playing NFL primetime music?" I said, "You damn sure I'm playing that music. Of course I am. You don't get out of here fast enough, I'm going to lay you out."
I'm listening to Chris Berman on repeat from 1999.
It's just something
it's nostalgic, right?
It also looks like, I also look at it like I'll turn on an old game when Madden and Summerall is doing it just to listen to those two guys. It's just
they were so good.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just what it is. It's like Joe Buck doing baseball. Like it was just something that you grow up and just you think of it with Tim McCarver. It's just that stuff.
Yeah. Watch it.
Like you said,
John Madden cut a turducken in half with his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't beat that.
Yeah.
That's just prime television.
That's nostalgic, like you had mentioned. But with that, as we always end it, we always do that with a special 2 words. And that's go Lehigh. It is Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, aka Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.